Greetings and good day. I am Jim Primavera, and today I will be discussing the abstract RT study. So our analysis confirms that the rapid growth of the Philippine fintech sector, particularly in digital payment, yet we face a critical failure, severe financial inclusion disparity. The sector's benefit remain concentrated in the NCR, leaving rural populations underserved due to low trust and infrastructural barriers. This study identifies the core issue as systemic deficiency and over-reliance on supply-side growth that neglects active demand creation outside the capital. To address this, we propose the Barangay Fintech Vouchers Program, which is the foundational design concept for our new PTS. This system manages the issuance of digital vouchers, providing a direct financial incentive to rural users by requiring voucher redemption with non-NCR fintechs. The TPS serves as a mechanism to counter market expansions, foster local employment, and build the necessary confidence for widespread, equitable financial inclusion across the nation. Okay na. Greetings and good day everyone. I am Kim Primavera and today I will be discussing the background of our study and the current state of fintech in the Philippines. Over the past few years, the fintech sector has grown quickly, especially during the pandemic when people had to rely on digital payment and online banking because face-to-face transaction became risky. One major mobile wallet even recorded a 700% increase in transaction in just 1 year, which shows that Filipinos are willing to use digital finance when it is accessible and convenient. However, even with this rapid growth, not everyone in the country is experiencing the same progress. Most fintech activity is concentrated in Metro Manila, while many rural communities are still being left behind. Our national financial inclusion rate remains low at 34%, which is far below the Southeast Asian average. What makes this more concerning is that the people who are missing out are the farmers, fishermen, micro entrepreneurs, and small business owners are the one who actually needs this digital financial service the most. Many rural areas still struggle with slow internet, low digital literacy, and a lack of trust in online banking. Because of these challenges, they cannot fully access important financial tools like secure savings or small loans. This situation shows that while fintech in the Philippines is growing, it is not yet truly inclusive, and many communities remain disconnected from the benefits of digital finance. That Greetings and good day, everyone. I am Jim Primavera, and today I will be discussing the SOP of our study. The main thing we need to figure out is this one. Why is the fintech system, which is supposed to help everyone, actually leaving out most people in the provinces? The core issues we're looking at is a massive system failure where a successful technology is only benefiting a small area. Fintech is booming like that 700% transaction jump we talk about. But this is success is stuck in Metro Manila. This is a problem because it keeps our country overall financial inclusion rate super low. The fintech system is deficient because it is not fulfilling its purpose of democratizing finance, especially Specifically, the system is scaling these groups: farmers, micro entrepreneurs, and small business in rural areas. They are being denied access to crucial tools like easy credit and safe savings, which stops their local economies from growing. To fix this, our case study needs to answer this specific question. Why is fintech success only happening in the cities? We need to clearly show how the concentrate, concentration of fintech in urban centers is directly connected to the very low access rates in rural areas. What are the biggest roadblocks for rural Filipinos? We need to pinpoint the main reason they can or won't use the apps. This this means looking at the massive gap internet access, the 75% city versus 43% rural, their lack of digital knowledge, and their deep distrust of online money system. What con- what concrete solutions can we propose? We need to figure out specific practical things that fintech companies, the government, and as future tech people can do to change the policies and local training programs so that the system finally works for everyone in the process. Cut
This transaction processing system case study aims to analyze the Philippine fintech ecosystem and address gaps in rural financial inclusions. It examines stakeholders, services, acceleration factors, and systematic bottlenecks, highlighting the lack of policies promoting fintech growth outside the NCR. To address this, the proposed Barangay Fintech Voucher programs uses digital vouchers to incentive fintech companies to serve rural communities, hire local agents, and provide guided, no-cost first-time transactions. This overall transaction, the overall the overall goal is a data-driven, well-structured system that strengthens the fintech ecosystem and ensures equitable financial access for rural Filipinos.
For a description of the current system, the fintech system in the Philippines is made of the various people that use, manage, and benefit from the system. The process that guide and dictate the procedures and operation of the system, and the technology that makes it possible for the system to function and operate. The people include consumers, financial institutions, and the government. The consumers are users from the urban and rural area, with the urban consumers making up a significant portion of the population. The financial institutions are the traditional banks that are gradually incorporating fintech services, and the fintech companies that are merging institutions that offer and provide digital payments and financial services. The government and the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas oversee and regulate the financial institutions and the payment systems. The main process of the system includes registration, transaction, and security. Registration involves users signing up for an account to be able to access the system and its services. The main transactions include services like payments and transferring funds, and security involves authentication, data protection, and account monitoring to ensure the safety of the user's account. The main technologies used are applications and platforms and digital payment systems. Application platforms like GCash and Paymaya make fintech services accessible and available on multiple platforms, and digital payment systems make digital transactions possible through electronic wallets and online banks. Some of the challenges of the current system include low digital and financial literacy in rural areas, making it difficult for rural consumers to fully adopt fintech services in their daily lives. Another challenge is the lack of access to devices and poor internet connectivity, limiting the population's access to the system. All of these factors combined lead to a digital divide, making it difficult for the fintech system to penetrate the rural areas in the Philippines.
Identification of stakeholders. First, we have the primary stakeholders. This includes fintech companies, digital banks, e-wallet providers, and of course, their customers, individuals or small businesses, and corporate users. These groups expect a system that is fast, secure, and dependable. They need smooth transaction, accurate records, and strong data protection. And for our secondary stakeholders, these are the organizations that support the fintech operations, such as cloud service providers, analytics vendors, and API integration partners. Merchant and billers are also fall under this group. They need timely settlements, organized reports, and reliable system to support daily operations. Investors and accelerators are involved because they influence the direction and growth of the system. We also consider the external stakeholders, which include government bodies like the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP and the CEC, SEC, and the National Privacy Commission or NPC. They ensure compliance with laws, cybersecurity, and data protection standards. Their requirements influence how the system must be designed, particularly in terms of reporting and security features. And finally, there are the decision makers or the executive director and shareholders of the company. They care about cost efficient system scalability, risk reduction, and strategic advantages. They also push for high security and strong performance because any system failure directly impacts trust and operation. Overall, all the stakeholders commonly want a system that is reliable, secure, fast, and user friendly. Understanding their needs ensure that the improved system will work effectively across the entire Philippine fintech environment.
As for our data flow diagrams, the level 0 context diagrams represent the fintech system as the main system interacting with bank, user, business as the four external entities. Users interact with the system by logging into the system, cashing in, cashing out, and applying for loans, and the system responds by updating them on the status of their accounts. Confirming cash in and cash out, approving or denying loans, confirming payments, providing reference number, and issuing reports for completed transactions. Business interact with the system by requesting payments and refunds, providing information about QR codes, and the system responds by confirming payments and providing reference number and receipts for each transaction. The bank is the financial authority that supervises and approves the movement of money. The system sends the bank instructions to cash in and cash out and transfer money to other banks. The bank sends system approvals and status updates on the movement of the money. The level 1 data flow diagram divides the internal functions of the fintech system into four main areas. The first section is called payment processing. This section fulfills user requests for cash in and cash out transactions. Payment processing validates every request and sends the information to the database. Once the request is approved, payment processing sends confirmation of the action to the user. The second area is called the account and wallet management. This section maintains user account information and manages retrieval requests for account information and administer loan applications. This section updates the customer records, keep loan and approval, and denial responses in the database. and sends them back to the user. The user authentication is the third section. This section verifies a customer's credential but by comparing their login information to the records in the fintech database. Based on the result, the user will either be granted or denied access to their account. The data flow diagram level 2 outlines the user authentication process action in details. A customer types in their email and password. The system first checks to see if email and password have been entered and if the format entered adhere to the system standards. After validation, the system attempts to retrieve the user information from the fintech database to check if the user records is valid. Once sufficient information is collected from the system checks to see if the email and password in the record match the entered information. In this step, if there is no match, the system provides an error notification for the user to enter the information in the system. If the email and password are now correct, the user is logged and the system provides a successful response. Use case. Looking at the fintech system, the interaction between its three main components, the customer, the lending apps, and the bank, can be visualized through a use case diagram coming from the customer side. Most of the actions that are taken are logging into the system, overseeing their account, sending money in and out, applying for loans, checking their transaction history, and sending payments via QR code. These are all things that any user should do in order to be able to run their financial lives on the platform. The lending apps meanwhile step into the scene by taking charge of the loan application made by the customers, grabbing, analyzing, and approving, or rejecting the request, checking the credit rating, sending reminders to update the status of the loans, and looking up with the system to update the same. Well known for its financial oversight, the bank serves as the authority that verifies the accuracy of monetary transactions and can even block or approve cash in and cash out requests. Plus tells the fintech system what happens with this transaction. The diagram illustrates the interconnectedness of the three actors and show what each is responsible for in order to provide the system with rock-solid financial transaction and smooth operational performance.
Problem and deficiency analysis. The current system in many financial and fintech operations faces serious weakness that slow down transactions and increase errors. One major issue is the continued use of manual or paper-based processes. Staff often verify documents by hand or manually reconcile accounts. This causes delays, inconsistencies, and a lot of human error. It also makes the system slow and difficult to scale. Another problem is data fragmentation. Instead of using centralized database, many organizations work with different systems that do not communicate with each other. This leads to duplicate entries, outdated information, and very time-consuming reconciliation. It also makes reporting and auditing more complicated. The next concern is outdated interfaces and limited accessibility. Some systems can only be accessed through old desktop terminals. They are not mobile friendly and lack modern features. This prevents agents from processing transactions outside the office and frustrates users with slow or confusing interfaces. There is also lack of automation. Many workflows still require manual approvals through email or multiple software platforms. This slows down basic activities like customer onboarding refunds, fee calculations, or settlement process. These delays can stretch tasks for hours or days. In summary, the current system is slow, prone to errors, lack of automation, and cannot keep up with modern fintech demands like instant payments and strict cybersecurity rules.
Dangal greetings, I'm Aljil and I will explain the goals and objective of our case study. So first, our main goal is to examine why fintech in the Philippines despite its rapid growth during COVID-19 pandemic remains heavily concentrated in Metro Manila and continues to exclude many rural communities. So we aim to understand what prevents millions of Filipinos, especially the farmers, fisher folks, and micro entrepreneurs from accessing digital financial services that could help them to save securely, manage income, and access credit. So to achieve this, we have the several specific objectives. First, we aim to analyze why fintech success is mostly happening in the rural urban areas. So this includes the looking at how the pandemic pushed digital payments to rise sharply, yet still failed to reach the countryside. Second, we will identify the major barriers that stop rural Filipinos from using fintech. This includes weak internet infrastructure, high data costs, low digital literacy, and a general lack of trust in online financial system. Third, we seek to understand how this lack of access directly affect the farmers, fisher folk, and rural MSMES. So we want to show how limited access to digital tools and credit slows down their income growth and business opportunities. Fourth, we will assess whether current government policies and regulatory efforts are truly effective in supporting financial inclusion or if gaps still remain. Fifth, we aim to evaluate how the different players in the fintech ecosystem such as the banks, rural banks, fintech companies, and government agencies interact and how these relationships impact the rural financial access. Lastly, we will propose a clear, practical, and scalable solutions. So this includes the designing simpler digital tools for low literacy users, partnering with local institutions, strengthening digital literacy programs, and building trust through community-based support.
Non-functional requirements. Non-functional requirements define the qualities that the new system must have, not just what it can do. For a fintech platform, these requirements are extremely important. First is security and compliance. Because the system handles financial and personal data, it must use strong encryption, multi-factor authentication, and strict access control. It also needs to comply with the Philippine laws such as Data Privacy Act or AMLAC rules and BSP cybersecurity standard. This is especially important now that cybercrime in the country have increased rapidly. Next is performance and reliability. The system must process a high volume of transactions with a little to no delay. It should operate with 24/7 uptime automatic failover mechanisms. This ensures that even during heavy usage, like bill payments periods, the system doesn't slow down or crash. Then we have the scalability. The system must grow as the number of users grows. A scalable architecture makes it easy to add new services, more servers, or more features without redesigning the entire platform. Another important requirement is usability and accessibility. Both customer and staff should find the system easy to navigate. It must run smoothly on phones, tablets, and computers. Clear instructions, simple workflows, and multiple language support help users avoid mistakes and complete tasks efficiently. Prioritization. To organize system features, Moscow method is used. This method groups requirements into four categories: must have, should have, could have, and would have. Must have features are the most critical. Without them, the system cannot functions. This includes secure login with encryption, two-factor authentication, a central transaction database, basic payment processing flows, and essential reports for compliance and reconciliation. Should have features add strong value but aren't mandatory at, at launch. Examples include analytics, dashboards, customer alert notifications, integration with external APIs, and advanced fraud detection tools. The system can still operate without these in its first release. Could have features are enhancement that improve user comfort or user experience. These include interface customization, multiple language option, chatbots, or optional settings. These are usually added only if time and resources allow. Or our last is won't have features, are not included in the current version but may be added in the future. These include experimental technologies like blockchain, payments, or AI financial advisors. Declaring them early ensures the team avoid scope creep. And to summarize, using the Moscow framework guarantees that the most important features, especially security, performance, and core processing, are prioritized before everything else.
For system architecture, the Barangay FinTech Voucher System uses a mobile, cloud-based client-server architecture. Users, barangay field agents, fintech companies, and government agencies can access the system through SMS and mobile clients. The system is divided into four major layers: the front-end layer, or the main interfaces; the back-end layer consists of the API services; the database layer storing all data and records; and the integration layer connecting all the systems. The client side will be on the front-end layer that users can access through SMS messages or through mobile apps. This layer contains all the main user interfaces where users can register for an account, claim vouchers, and view status, and barangay field agents can verify user accounts. This is also where fintech companies can redeem vouchers and government agencies can manage vouchers and update policies. The server side will be on the backend layer, which will handle systems logic. The main services will include the user management, which handles registering users, verifying accounts, and updating status. The voucher management will handle all voucher services including creating and issuing vouchers, validating vouchers, and updating voucher status. The redemption service is responsible for redemption requests, login transactions, and fraud detection and validation logic. The fintech company's integration allows fintech partners to redeem and validate vouchers, while the field agent services include assigning users to agents and verifying agents. And the government administration is responsible for allocating vouchers and updating policies. The database layer stores all the system's data and records such as voucher details, transaction logs, user accounts, and fintech company details. This is implemented using PostgreSQL relational database ensure the consistency and accuracy of the data. The integration layer will connect the system with external systems including fintech API gateway, account verification services, and SMS services. So for the class diagram, first we have the user class, which has attributes user ID, name, barangay, mobile number, status, and verification status, and methods verify identity and get voucher. A user can have 0 or more redemption transactions, 0 or more vouchers, and can only have one barangay field agent. For the field agent class, it has attributes agent ID, barangay, users, and the accreditation status, and methods assign user and verify user. One field agent can have one or more users. For the voucher class, it has attributes voucher ID, amount, issue date, expiry date, and status, and has methods mark use and is valid. Voucher can only be assigned to one user, and a voucher can have 0 or more redemption transactions. For the fintech class, it has attributes fintech ID, name, region, and accreditation status, and methods redeem voucher and validate voucher. An accredited fintech can have 0 or more redemption transactions. And for the redemption transaction class, it has attributes redemption ID, list of vouchers, list of users, list of fintech partners, date redeemed, and type of service. And it has methods issue voucher, redeem voucher, check usage, and check validity. A single redemption transaction can only have one voucher, one user, and one accredited fintech. For the government agency class, it has attributes government ID, name, policy update, and list of vouchers. And it has methods update policy. The government agency class can have one or more redemption transactions.
So, greetings sir, I'm Ezekiel Alensunorin. So, today I'm going to talk about the entity relationship diagram or ERD for the Barangay Fintech Voucher System. So, think of this ERD as the architectural blueprint for a digital bridge. A bridge designed to connect government aid directly to rural communities in a secure, transparent, and efficient way. The core mission of this system is to manage digital voucher programs, and our ERD outlines all the key players and how they interact to make this happen. So let's meet the 6 key entities and the main characters in our story. First, we have the user or beneficiary. These are the rural participants who will receive and ultimately redeem the digital vouchers for essential services. They are the heart of the entire system. Next is the voucher itself. This entity is the digital token of aid. It stores all critical details: its monetary value, its validity period, which specific program it's from, and most importantly, its current status, whether it's used, active, redeemed, or expired. Then we have a government agency. This entity is the overseer. It creates the voucher programs, manages their distribution, and is responsible for accrediting the partners in the next entity. Those partners are the accredited fintech companies. These are the digital payment processors. They provide the platform where a user can finally redeem their vouchers, converting them into goods or services. Their accredited status is crucial as it means they comply with government standards. On the ground, we have the barangay field agent. This person is the vital human touchpoint. They assist users with onboarding, verifying their identities, and troubleshooting the redemption process. They are the trusted local link to the technology. Lastly, we have the redemption transaction. This isn't a person or a company, but a crucial event. It's detailed log entry that records the exact moment a voucher is used. Now, how these entities work together? So these were the relationships the line in our diagram come to life. The government agencies has a one-to-many relationship with both voucher, so it creates many vouchers. And fintechs It accredits many companies. This establishes top-down control and policy enforcement. A user can receive multiple vouchers over time, but each voucher is assigned to one specific user. This ensures targeted aid. A barangay field agent assists many users with their barangay, providing essential grassroots support. The most critical interactions happen at redemption. A user goes to an accredited fintech to redeem a specific voucher. This action triggers the creation of a redemption transaction record. So this redemption transaction is the system's audit trail. It permanently links the user, that what the voucher, the where, or the fintech, and then when the timestamp and service type. So why this blueprint matter? The power of this ERD is in how it weaves these entities and relationship into a secure and accountable ecosystem.
So, Dangal, greetings. Our UI mockups presentation is for UI mockups, our main priority was to keep everything simple and easy to understand, since many of the users are from rural communities and may be new to digital financial tools. The design uses large buttons, clear labels, and very straightforward steps. First, login verification screen. This is the first screen the user sees. The layout is intentionally simple: a header, a field for the mobile number, and a single button to send the OTP code. Once the OTP is sent, an additional box appears from the verification code. We also added a small "Need help" link at the bottom so users can reach a field agent if they need guidance. The idea is to make the login process approachable even for first-time digital users. Our next is a voucher dashboard, which is our home screen. After logging in, the user lands on the voucher dashboard. They're greeted with a short welcome message followed by a list of available vouchers. Each voucher is presented as a large card with the amount and purpose clearly shown, like 100 pesos e-wallet verification. So below each card is a short reminder of a partner fintech provider. At the bottom, there are two helpful buttons, one that explains how to redeem vouchers and another that shows nearby field agents on a map. The goal here is clarity. Users should immediately understand what they can claim and how. Next is our voucher redemption screen. When a voucher is selected, the user is taken to the redemption screen. The voucher amount is displayed at the bottom, at the top, and there's a drop-down list of accredited fintech provides to choose from. Below that, there's a short explanation of what the voucher covers so users are fully aware of what they're redeeming. A single Redeem Now button completes the process, followed by a simple success message indicating that a field agent will contact them. We kept the interaction minimal to avoid unnecessary confusion. Next is a field agent app interface. This is the interface used by field agents. The main feature is QR code scanner, which allows them to verify users' voucher instantly. After scanning, the app shows the voucher details and asks the agent to confirm. We included quick checkboxes so agents can vote whether the user received assistance, attended the session, or if there are any additional observations. This keeps the process transparent and helps reduce fraudulent claims while still making the task easy for field personnel. The last is admin dashboard. Lastly, we have the admin dashboard for the LGU. This screen focuses on overall performance of the program, issued vouchers, redeemed vouchers as active barangays,
partner fintech providers, and field agent activity. There's also a map view showing where the vouchers are being used the most. The layout is more data focused but still organized into a clear sections so staff can monitor everything without feeling overwhelmed. That's all.
So today I'm going to explain our plan for the data storage of the new Barangay FinTech voucher system. Think of this as the memory and brain of the entire project. It needs to be safe, fast, and work for everyone, from the city to the smallest, most remote barangay. To make sure no one is left behind, we're not using just one piece of technology. Instead, we built a smart system with 4 different tools. Each one has a very special job to do. First, let's talk about the main brain, PostgreSQL. This is where all the important financial information will live. Every time a voucher is created, activated, or used, PostgreSQL records it. Now, why did we choose this one? Its most important feature is called ACID compliance. That's a technical term, but it simply means the database is extremely careful and reliable. It makes sure that a voucher can never be used twice. It guarantees that the money is in the new system. It's always accurate and never just disappears. It prevents errors and fraud. This is the foundation of trust for our system. Also, PostgreSQL can grow with us. It can handle millions and millions of records from all over the Philippines without getting slow. Now, our second tool is for all the pictures and documents. People will need to upload their ID, photos, and other papers. These files are large and would clutter up our main brain, making it slow. So for this, we use cloud object storage like AWS S3 or Google Cloud Storage. You can think of this as a giant, super safe digital filing cabinet. It's separate, cost-effective place just for these files. This keeps our main database fast and focused on managing money. Our third tool solves a very big problem, bad internet. We know that in many rural areas, the internet connection can be slow or even go out completely. If our system only works online, many people will be left out. Our solution is technology called Redis. Think of Redis as a super-powered notepad. Here's how it works. Before a field agent goes to a village with no internet, they can download a list of valid vouchers onto their device and Redis. This notepad is very fast. In the village, even with no connection, the agent can still scan vouchers and check IDs. All work is saved on this notepad. Later, when they get back online, everything automatically syncs back to the main database. It's seamless and fair for everyone. Lastly, our fourth tool is for looking at the big picture. The government needs to see how the program is doing. They need reports like which regions are using the most vouchers or what the spending patterns are. If we run the huge reports on the live system, it would slow everything down for the users. That's a bad experience. So we recommend a data warehouse like Google BigQuery. This is like a library of historical records. Every night we can send a copy of this data to this library. Then leaders and analysts can run all the reports they need without slowing down the main system at all. It's the best of both worlds. So to wrap it all up, our four-part system is PostgreSQL as the safe, reliable brain for all transactions, cloud storage as the filing cabinet for IDs and documents, Redis as the super-powered notepad for working offline, and the data warehouse as the library for creating helpful reports. That's all. Thank you.
So, my topic is implementation plan about phases and timeline. So, week 1 to 2 is project initiation. Focuses on building the project foundation by identifying the main problem, defining its scope, and determining key stakeholders like government agencies, fintech partners, barangay field agents, and beneficiaries. This phase ensures project preparation and clear direction for the next stage of the project. Week 3 to week 5 is requirements analysis. It involves gathering detailed system requirements through consultations, interviews, and field observations, covering functions like voucher generation, beneficiaries, validation, QR redemption, and reporting. It also defines non-functional needs such as security, reliability, usability, and accessibility to ensure the system aligns with available resources and government workflows. Week 6 to week 8 is system design. Focuses on turning the requirements into system designs, including data flow diagrams, architecture, interface, wireframes, and database structures. It also defines API integrations, BFA interactions, and security measures to ensure the system is efficient, secure, and feasible for implementation. Week 9 to 14 is system development. Focuses on building the actual system, including the voucher database, user authentication, admin dashboard, beneficiaries, portal, QR redemption, and API interaction. Development is carried out across front-end, back-end, and mobile interfaces to complete all application modules. Week 15 to 18 is testing and pilot development. Involves conducting unit, integration, and security testing, followed by a pilot run in one barangay to observe real user interactions. Feedback is gathered to fix issues and confirm that the system is stable, usable, and capable of functioning under world condition. So, week 19 to 24 is full development and post-implementation evaluation. Focuses on full system deployment in target barangays, supported by training for BFA and official along with continuous monitoring of usage and impact. A post-implementation evaluation measures effectiveness in fintech adoption and economic improvement, ending with reports on achievements, challenge, and scaling recommendations. Feasibility analysis. The Barangay Fintech Voucher Program is possible to do because it uses digital tools we already have, like e-wallets and online payments. It only needs a basic system for vouchers and checking transactions, even if someone rural areas have slow internet or people are not familiar with technology. Barangay field agents will guide them, so the program can still run well. It is also affordable and worth the cost. Instead of spending money on expensive infrastructure, the program gives digital vouchers that help small businesses, farmers, and local fintech providers. Each voucher used brings money back into the community and creates more digital users. Lastly, the program works works well with the current government system. So the tax are share government managed vouchers, fintech handles digital service, and field agents assist users. So this makes the program easy to run and monitor while also helping people who are unsure or unfamiliar with digital payments.
The Barangay Fintech Vouchers program serves as the bridge that brings our secure and reliable transaction processing system or TPS to a rural communities by automating the creation, distribution, and proper use of digital vouchers. The system generates unique UR or alphanumeric vouchers, verifies user eligibility based on priority barangays, and delivers vouchers through SMS, mobile apps, or barangay digital centers. It includes the redemption control mechanism that ensure vouchers are used for valid services such as e-wallet verification and microloan payments only through accredited fintech providers operating in regions encouraging expansion outside NCR. A fintech accreditation and tracking modules monitors participating companies and their activity across barangays. While every redemption is logged in center ledger to support auditing and reimbursement, ensuring transparency and accurate payouts. Administrators can monitor the programs through a real-time dashboard that tracks voucher distribution, redemption, performance, and detects suspicious activity. To keep program human-centered, a field agent tool assisted on the ground agents in helping beneficiaries redeem vouchers, record digital literacy sessions, and troubleshoot basic issues, making the system both technologically strong and accessible to rural users.
Greetings, my name is Kenneth Sino Sarjeta, and this is the part of primary locations of our case study, and this is about the Fintech Voucher Program. A simple but powerful way to bring digital financial services to rural communities. Ito yung program na tumutulong sa mga farmers and fishermen at small business owner para makagamit ng digital tools for the first time. And then, many rural areas outside NCR still rely most on cash, and families and small business don't use banks or e-wallets. Not because they don't want to, but because digital services are either unavailable, difficult to use, or sometimes unreliable. Kaya maraming tao na hindi nakaka-experience ng convenience ng digital payments. This is program focused on farmers, fishermen, and small entrepreneurs. Their income is often unstable because of season, weather, and market conditions. For example, farmer in Ilocos Norte and Ilocos Sur, fishermen in Leyte and Samar, and sari-sari store owner in Misamis Oriental struggle to success bank or loans. Sa pamamagitan ng voucher is magkakaroon sila ng pagkakataon na subukan ng digital financial service na safe at guided. The program will start in region like Ilocos, Eastern Visayas, Bicol, and Northern Mindanao. These areas have many unbanked household and small businesses, and kahit may internet na, marami pa rin ang hindi gumagamit ng digital tools. Kaya perfect ito sa mga lugar na mas para sa pilot program. And then, to make the rollout easier, we'll prioritize barangays with tech for ed centers and e-centers or community hall with internet. This ensures residents can register, redeem their vouchers, and get guidance even if they don't own smartphones. Halimbawa, maraming mga barangay sa San Nicolas at Polongui may community learning hubs na pwedeng gamitin ng mga tao. And then, the voucher let farmers, fishermen, and small businesses owners experience fast, secure, and convenient digital transaction. Small entrepreneur can also use digital tools to track income and expenses, access microloans, and grow their business. And kapag na-experience nila yung mga benefits, mas malaki ang chance na tuloy-tuloy nilang gamitin ang digital finance. And then, starting to province also shown fintech companies that rural areas have huge potential. Kapag nakita nila na may demand sa mga rural communities, mas encourage silang mag-invest and mag-hire ng local field agents at mag-offer ng services tailored for provincial users. This create jobs and strengthen the local economy. And then, in the long run, this program helps reduce the digital gap between urban and rural communities. And residents can save money safely, avoid travel costs to banks, and join the digital economy confidently. At sa mga small entrepreneurs, it also helps improve business operations and open opportunities for growth. In summary, the fintech voucher program is practical and effective way to help rural communities and experience digital finance, empower MSME, and expand financial inclusion across the Philippines. Sa ganitong paraan is mas maraming Pilipino ang makikinabang sa digital economy. And that's all. Thank you. Greetings, and let's now move on to our summary findings of our case study. And our finding reveal a clear and compelling story that guide our entire project. And on the technical side, our transactional processing system o yung TPS na ginawa namin proved to be strong, reliable for real-world use. Siniguro namin na sumusunod dito sa pinakamahalagang non-functional requirements, lalo na yung mahalaga sa financial technology. Our TPS is fully complies with ACID properties, atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. Sa madaling sabi is, hindi ito pumapalya, walang double spending, walang incomplete transaction, at walang gumagalaw ng records na hindi dapat. This level of stability is what makes financial system truly trustworthy. And bukod sa pagiging stable, we also made sure na secured ang system. Gumamit kami ng strong encryption, multi-factor authentication para sa high-value transaction at complete audit trails, yung tipong pasado sa standard ng Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. And kaya nito mag-process ng thousands of transaction per second habang mababang latency, and meaning mabilis and smooth at hindi nakakainis gamitin. Our TPS is not only working, it is capable of supporting digital financial operations on nationwide level. Pero habang malakas ang technical side, our research into the Philippines fintech landscape reveal much deeper issues. And yes, mabilis lumaki ang fintech sa Pilipinas, but almost all of that growth is happening in NCR, sa probinsya. Iba ang realidad. Many Filipinos, especially farmers, fishermen, and small businesses owners, still do not have access to digital finance services. And the problem is not just about weak signal or lack of devices. Mas malalim pa, maraming tao sa rural areas ang kulang sa digital literacy. May takot sa unfamiliar technology at sanay sila sa cash-based transaction. Totoo rin nito is fintech companies hesitate to expand outside NCR dahil mahal mag-deploy sa rural areas. Kailangan ng education, trust building, and consistent support sa malalayong barangay. This create what we call the adaptation gap. Isang malaking hadlang kung bakit hindi umaabot sa mga nangangailangan ang digital financial solutions. And when we put these findings together, the conclusion is very clear na we have already built a powerful technologies engine, pero walang daan papunta sa mga taong pinaka nangangailangan ito. Kung ilalunch namin na TPS ng walang strategy to reach the rural communities, ang pinaka makikinabang lang ay yung mga nasa urban area na sanay nang gumamit ng digital tools. Meanwhile, yung mga farmers, fishermen at micro businesses, sila pa rin yung maiiwan. And because of this, we shift from a pure technical mindset to more people-centered strategy. And that's how we create the Barangay Fintech Vouchers Program. And simple lang idea na bigyan ng digital voucher rural citizens at small business para ma-experience nila ang digital financial services for free. And pwedeng gamitin ang mga vouchers for e-wallet verification, first-time microloan payments, and identify the validation or any accredited fintech services outside NCR. By giving users a free guided experience, binibigyan natin sila ng reason para sumubok ng digital tools, at dahil may siguradong demand sa probinsya, fintech companies will finally have clear incentives to expand outside NCR. And dagdag pa rito, meron tayong trained field agents. Sila yung tutulong for registration, onboarding at pagtuturo, para hindi lang sila gumamit ng digital finance. Matutunan nila, maintindihan nila at mapagkakatiwalaan nila. And this approach bridge the gap connecting our advanced TPS with real communities who need support. And through this combined strategy, we ensure that our TPS is not just a technical achievement, but tools for inclusive and meaningful national development. With the Barangay Fintech Vouchers Program, digital finance become accessible hindi lang sa mga taga Maynila, kundi pati sa bawat barangay and bawat komunidad at bawat Pilipino na nangangailangan ng mas ligtas at mas mabilis at mas maasahang financial services. And that's all. Thank you for listening.
Greetings and good day. I am Jim Rivera, and today I will be discussing our summary solution of our case study. Our findings give clear direction for our project. First, we confirm that the TPS we built is strong, secure, and ready for real-world use. It follows all ACID principles, prevents errors like double spending, and includes key security features such as encryption, multi-factor authentication, and audit logs. With its ability to handle thousands of transactions per second, the TPS is technically prepared to support large-scale digital finance. But when we look at the fintech situation in the Philippines, we found a bigger challenge. Most of the growth is happening in NCR, while rural communities like farmers, fisher folks, and small business owners are left behind. Their struggles are not just about internet issues. Many lack digital skills, fear online systems, and don't see a strong reason to move away from cash. At the same time, fintech companies hesitate to expand to rural areas because it requires a big investment in training and building trust. This creates a serious adoption gap. Putting this together, we realize that while our TPS is powerful, it won't reach the people who need it most unless we address the adoption problem. This led us to create the Barangay FinTech Vouchers program. The program encouraged rural users to try digital services, support fintech companies in expanding outside NCR, and use trained field agents to guide and build trust in communities. Through this, we connect our strong technology with real people and help move toward a more inclusive digital future. Bye now.